Is there anything more embarrassing than when a Democrat goes on stage and starts grandstanding in front of Congress? Trey Gowdy is the man who has to follow him and straighten him out. I think you'll like this clip.
New York is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are talking about the victims of 9/11, and they do deserve our attention. On that day on 9/11, we took to the steps, we held hands, we sang God Bless America. We committed ourselves to working together to strengthen our homeland security, not as Republicans, not as Democrats, but as members of Congress whose constituents expect us to keep them safe, whose constituents expect us to put aside whatever disagreements we have on whatever other issues there may be, and at least agree on their fundamental right to be safe. That is the expectation. And now, Madam Speaker, we have a bill that should not be controversial, that should fund our homeland security, but has been turned into a divisive political strategy on immigration. Madam Speaker, let's face it, this bill is not about homeland security. This bill is about Republican political security. And it is an injustice to those who suffered on 9/11 and still remember that. Members are entitled to whatever view they may have on the President's executive order. They're entitled to whatever view they may have on immigration. They're entitled to votes on those issues. But to force those views on a bill that funds grants to first responders, that helps those first responders hire additional personnel and purchase protective equipment, that assists our state and local governments in preventing and responding to terrorist attacks and other disasters, that secures essential cyber networks, that simply puts ugly politics ahead of the safety of the American people. This bill goes too far. For the first time in history, they are holding our security hostage to the politics of immigration. Now, my motion gives every member here a fundamental choice. It allows you to pursue whatever agenda you may have on immigration without undermining our homeland security. It would ensure passage of a clean homeland security bill with an additional $3 million for fusion centers. Madam Speaker, this is the 9/11 Commission report, the report that every member of Congress said that we would heed and pay attention to, that we would not allow politics to be injected into. And this report calls for fusion centers, which are located in every state, to gather, receive, analyze, and share threat information among federal, state, and tribal law enforcement and other public safety partners. Unity of effort in information sharing, this report says, is a key necessity in protecting our homeland. And our fusion center networks are critical in our response to that recommendation. And this motion to recommit makes a further investment in these fusion centers so that we don't have a repeat of what happened in France a week ago. This is the choice, Madam Speaker. It's clear and it is stark. You can vote yes on this motion to recommit and strengthen fusion centers. You can vote no and have weakened them. How will you explain your vote no if a disaster occurs? You can vote yes and stand for full and immediate funding of DHS without Washington politics. Or you can vote no and tell your constituents that being against immigration is more important to you than being for their homeland security. How will you explain that no vote to them if disaster occurs again? Republicans are saying that anti-immigration riders on this bill are part of our political compromise. Madam Speaker, we all understand compromise. We all support compromise. But homeland security is the last thing in this body that should be subject to a political compromise. Not after the attacks on France, not after 9/11 when we pledged to keep the American people safe, not after we stood on the steps of this building committing ourselves to bipartisan cooperation and to do the right thing for our homeland security. Do the right thing, my colleagues, and vote for this motion to recommit and take the politics, the ugly politics, out of keeping the American people safe. I thank the Speaker and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I claim time in opposition to the motion.
The gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Now, thank you, and may I remind my colleague from New York that we put $300 million in those fusion centers in the bill. But at this time, because this is clearly primarily about the amendments that are on this bill, I would like to yield my time to the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Gowdy.
The House will be in order. The gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Your Honor. Madam Speaker, President Obama announced one of the largest extra-constitutional power grabs ever by a chief executive. He declared unilaterally that almost 5 million undocumented aliens will receive deferred action under some newfangled definition of prosecutorial discretion, Madam Speaker. Not only that, not only escaping consequences, he has decided to bestow benefits such as work authorization and immigration benefits. This, Madam Speaker, despite the fact that the very same president over 20 different times said he lacked the power to do what he just did. And he repeatedly said he's not a king. Now, Madam Speaker, his position may have changed after the election, I hasten to add, but the Constitution has not. That document is clear, time-tested, and true, and it says that this body passes laws, and it is the responsibility of the chief executive, Madam Speaker, to make sure that those laws are faithfully enforced. If this president's unilateral, extra-constitutional acts are not stopped, Madam Speaker, future presidents will no doubt expand that power of the executive branch and threaten the constitutional equilibrium. But Madam Speaker, this is not a fight between Republicans and Democrats. It's not even a fight.
And I ask the members to take their conversations off the floor. The gentleman will continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll back up in case they missed it. This is not a fight between Republicans and Democrats. It's not even a fight over immigration reform. This is a fight over whether this branch of government will ever find the courage to stand up for itself. The same document that this and all president swears to defend gives this body certain tools like the power of the purse. And it's about damn time we use that tool. So I would ask you to oppose this motion to recommit, support the underlying bill, and I would yield back my time.